The first college football Saturday of October continues from Lawrence, Kansas, with about 10,000 fans in attendance at Booth Memorial Stadium. It is homecoming for the Jayhawks. It's also the first road game of the season for 17th ranked Oklahoma State, which made the 4-hour trip employing 8 different buses in this new world of social distancing. You're watching the Big 12 Conference on ESPN. Not much difference between the top teams in the Big 12 Conference standings, it appears, which puts Oklahoma State in the conversation for its first conference title in 9 years. And hello, everybody, from Bristol, Mike Golick. From Phoenix, Dave Pasch. Good to be with you. Boy, unpredictable, Mike, is the banner word for 2020. And right now, no conference has been more unpredictable than the Big 12. Still, we knew going into the year Oklahoma State was going to be a contender for the Big 12 championship. Now maybe the Cowboys also in the conversation for a college football playoff spot.
The Big 12 already just 3 undefeated teams left, Oklahoma State being one of those. But offensively, not looking very good in the first 2 games. Defensively, very strong. Offensively, just 21 points a game in the first 2. Last year, they averaged 35 points a game. One guy we know, the all-world Chuba Hubbard at running back, though he put the ball on the ground 2 times last week. He has 11 fumbles in his career. He needs some ball security. It's great to run the way he does, but if the ball ends up on the ground, and luckily they didn't lose him last week, that kills the drive. He is fun to watch, but ball security is going to be key for Chuba Hubbard.
In fact, Mike, we have 2 of the top running backs in the Big 12 on display today. Hubbard, the household name, but Puka Williams, a player to watch. Very explosive and statistically on par with the late, great Jayhawk Gale Sayers. All right, let's head now to Stillwater and check in with the 3rd member of our crew. Here's Quinn Kesnick.
Oklahoma State dealing with some injuries at the quarterback position. You'll get to see Shane Illingworth. He'll make his 2nd start of the season. Tall righty. He's only a freshman from California. And talking to Mike Gundy, says he's got to do a better job this week reading coverages and operating this offense with more tempo. The season's original starter, Spencer Sanders, is here fighting an ankle injury. He's about 85%. He is available, but he'll start the game on the Pines.
All right, Quinn, thank you. Quinn is in Lawrence, not in Stillwater. Although when you and I are in 2 different locations, it's easy to get confused. Again, about 10,000 fans on hand for this one. From Lawrence.
We're never sure where we are, Dave. I mean, it's been a crazy year, as we know. We'll talk a lot about in the sports world with what we're doing. So sometimes, well, maybe it's age with me. I wake up in the morning, I'm not sure where I am.
Hey, at least you're waking up later than you're used to with what you've had to do for the last 20-plus years.
That is a good point. Good point.
So Jake McClure will kick it deep for Oklahoma State. And Kansas played well early on against Baylor. Ended up getting blown out of that game last week, 47-14, but made some good things happen early on. You could tell they are improved in year 2 of the Les Miles era. Kenny Logan on the return for KU. And Logan is all the way to the 30-yard line. Take a look at today's Bear game plan.
Well, again, I talked about it with Chuba Hubbard, ball security. Give Shane Illingworth some early success. The young quarterback, get him some short passes, early success to build confidence. Puka Williams, get him involved early. That will help take pressure off their true freshman quarterback, Jalen Daniels. And that Kansas defense, there's a couple of young offensive linemen for Oklahoma State. Try and confuse those 2 guys a little bit if you can with that defense.
And Daniels throwing on the first play to Andrew Parchment, and he's tackled after a gain of 2. Parchment with 10 catches on the year. Daniels, as you talked about, true freshman. He's a 17-year-old true freshman who started against Baylor last week. There are the numbers. Doesn't turn 18 until October 29th. Puka Williams getting his first touch. And cannot get away from the defender in the hole. Tried to juke the linebacker, Colby Harvey Peel, but could not get away from him. And he
Puka just limping a little bit. All right, don't need to see that in the first carry because you're going to see that guy get the ball in a lot of situations. Swing passes, you'll see him line up outside. They want to get him the ball, especially outside the tackle box.
He was shaken up a little bit week 1. Daniels with a long pass, and it's incomplete. It was intended for Stephon Robinson, and good defense by Tanner McAllister. Oklahoma State comes in number 6 in the country, giving up just 20 points, the fewest they've given up through weeks 1 and 2 in 7 years in Stillwater.
They are a very aggressive defense. Going to be very interesting what Kansas can do. It is going to be, I think, to get the ball on the outside a lot. As we saw Stephon Robinson already for Kansas, he limped off the field as well. So Puka and Robinson looked like very minor, but nicked up early.
Kyle Thompson to boot it away to Dylan Stoner. Goes out of bounds at the Oklahoma State 31. So you heard all the quarterback news from Quint. Let's show you Shane Illingworth, who attended the 2019 Quarterback Summit in Southern California alongside Joe Burrow, the #1 pick in the draft by the Cincinnati Bengals, and the New York Jets' Sam Darnold. Illingworth is from Norco, California, but he says he's basically a cowboy. Not just because he's got relatives in Oklahoma, but the town where he grew up, Norco, California, they say has more horses than people. Illingworth on the handoff draw play. Chuba with a huge hole and a first down, gain of about 12 on the play.
Chuba Hubbard, again, he's going to, will get the ball a lot. We'll go over what he did last year. Everybody knows about that, and they need to get going early. They haven't done it in the first 2 weeks of the season.
Illingworth throwing it downfield, and it's pulled in beautifully by Tylan Wallace, their best receiver, who's healthy after missing the final 5 games last year with a knee injury.
Again, getting out of the gate quick. Nice pass right on the money to Wallace. In 2018, he was a Blitnikoff finalist.
Good defense there on Braden Johnson out in space. See that up-tempo offense by Oklahoma State, but there's no question Wallace, the fact that he's healthy now, the big difference maker for this Cowboy offense. Illingworth completes it, and close to the first down is Dylan Stoner. Looked to be just short, 3rd down.
Yeah, they're going this up-tempo here. Again, even though Illingworth is just a true freshman, he's got a couple of games under his belt now. That was, I'm going to say, one of the ugliest quarterback sneaks I've ever seen. That's something he'll need to work on. Watch Tom Brady.
I don't think
he's short. No, he did not. He did not get it. He is short, but I wouldn't be shocked if they go for it here. But that was not the prettiest quarterback sneak in the world. Not that they're pretty, but.
At 6'5", it's almost like he's got to take a step back from the line of scrimmage.
That's exactly right, Quinn. I mean, put that 1 foot back. He has the 1 foot back. Get down a little lower. Not a great push, which again you're allowed to do now. Chuba Hubbard behind there pushing from the Bush push back when USC was at Notre Dame when that horrible thing happened. but you can do that now. And, yeah, you need a better push, and Shane needs to get a little lower, a little more drive. They're definitely going to be short.
To your point, got to think Oklahoma State's going to go for it here. There's Mike Gundy, 16th year, number 6 among coaches at their current school in terms of active wins. Got 130 at Oklahoma State.
Do they dare try the quarterback sneak again? I'm going to say no. Give the ball to that number 30 guy.
Well, this would be big for Kansas if the Jayhawks can somehow get a stop here. A diamond formation in this short yardage situation. And it will be Hubbard, and maybe with second effort he got it. Kenny Logan was in there first, had a hold of him from behind, but just couldn't bring him to the ground.
Yeah, he ended up getting getting the first down. Good, tough defense by Kansas there, but needed a half a yard and got 3/4 of a yard, and that's all he needs, 1st and 10.
From the 18-yard line of Kansas, we're 2.5 minutes into this one in Lawrence. Oklahoma State ranked 17 this week, dropping a couple of spots with teams from the Big Ten and also the Pac-12 now allowed in the rankings. Hubbard, beautiful move that time to put the hand on the ground, keep his feet, and pick up about 8 yards before he's knocked down by Logan.
This is vintage Chuba Hubbard. Whether a stutter step move or a spin like we had there, just beautiful.
2nd and 2. Illingworth to throw with time and overshoots Hubbard. Trying to get him matched up that time on a linebacker. Actually had a corner, Deuce Mayberry, a true freshman, covering him, but they'll take that just past too hot.
You'll see that with both teams trying to get both their running backs, Hubbard and Williams, out on the outside like this. This would be a big stop day for Kansas. First drive, a lot of adrenaline going on both sides. Oklahoma State has moved it right down the field. If they can get a stop here and force a field goal attempt.
Out of the pistol in 3rd and 2, give to Chuba Hubbard. On the cutback, he gets the first down inside the 5-yard line. That offensive line, which is missing a couple of starters due to injury, did well there.
Large offensive line. Just getting behind a great movement. I mean, he doesn't even get touched until the 2nd level. A couple of young guys up front, as I said in the open, it maybe in passing situations you try and confuse with the pressure, but running, nothing fancy there.
L.D. Brown in the game at running back for Oklahoma State on 1st down and goal. Brown getting his first touch and stumbles to about the 1-yard line. Hubbard's averaging close to 100 yards per game. L.D. Brown is over 80 yards per game and had 103 against Tulsa. It's Brown again. And just short of the goal line. Another 3rd down and short for Oklahoma State.
Nice play by Denzel Feaster. Great job getting him down and then getting finished off by Ferguson. Just short. And I do not think we will see a quarterback sneak again. Got the 2 tight ends in the backfield. Look for that same play we saw on 4th down, probably again here.
Oh. L.D. Brown gets the call and gets leveled at the 2-yard line. Boy, huge hit by Davon Ferguson.
Wow. Nothing fancy up here. You got 2 tight ends in. Just a great job on defense. These are unblocked players, and a lot of times you're asking your running back to beat one of them, but there were 2. One got him high, the other got him low. There was no shot he was going anywhere. Ferguson, a couple of nice big plays there. This is, Dave, this is huge for this Kansas defense to hold them to a field goal attempt.
No question a win after that 5-minute drive. Alex Hale. And Hale remains perfect on the year, 6 of 6, but the Jayhawks will take that great hit by Ferguson. They hold the Cowboys to 3.
K-State lose to Arkansas State, and next week beat OU. Like, it's college, especially this year, bro. You just got to find a way to win.
Now, Oklahoma State had a game postponed earlier this season. As you look at Eamon Ogbongbemiga, one of the top players on defense for Oklahoma State. They were supposed to play Tulsa week 1, but Tulsa didn't have enough practice time because of all the stoppages and interruptions because of COVID and how it hit the Tulsa campus, that ended up playing that game a week later than they were supposed to. Puka Williams on the return. Let's check in elsewhere in the Big 12. Let's go to Matt Berry.
Gentlemen, good afternoon. Some good finishes in the Big 12. First start with TCU, Texas. Max Duggan takes it in for the Frogs to give them the lead back. However, Longhorns with the big play, threatening to score late 4th quarter. Then West Virginia. It's going to overtime after Charlie Brewer hits Josh Fleeks. Baylor, West Virginia, all tied at 14.
And that kind of start, Matt, in the Big 12. We saw Oklahoma with that comeback win against Texas Tech last week, trying to do it again against TCU today. Jalen Daniels, true freshman quarterback, going to keep it here and find a running lane out near the 30-yard line. A good play on first down.
Great job by the youngster baiting 89, Tyler Lacey. That's who he was reading. Lacey was going for the running back. So the key on holding that is how long can you hold the ball in the belly of the receiver to make the defense commit. True freshman did a great job there.
Here's Velton Gardner getting the carry, and he stood up by Cameron Murray at the point of attack, and to bring up third down.
You know, you talk about the Big 12, or we do. It's usually the offense that we're talking about. And like I said early on with Oklahoma State, this defense has been really, really playing well. Very tough attack style, plays behind the line of scrimmage. We'll see if it continues today. Some big guys up front who play with their hands extremely well.
Yeah, Tulsa was 0 for 12 on third down against Oklahoma State. KU 0 for 1. Daniels stepping up and getting sacked at the 22-yard line by Calvin Bundage. His third sack already this season, and the Jayhawks will have to punt it away.
It was Ogbongbemiya, though, that made the play. Number 7, you'll see him come into the frame first. You'll see him right there making the quarterback have to step up, and then you get the cleanup sack on that. So pressure, and that's what I would do as well. Again, you have two true freshman quarterbacks. Pressure them, make them have to make a decision quickly.
Kyle Thompson to punt for the second time. And Dylan Stoner, the deep man for Oklahoma State, just got rid of it. And Stoner with a fair catch around the Cowboy 38-yard line. Midway point of the first quarter in Lawrence. Oklahoma State leading Kansas 3-0. Taking a look at the preseason Big 12 contenders, you had 4 teams in the top 23, but then the season started. Iowa State lost to Louisiana September 12th in Ames, and that game wasn't really close. And then how about last week? Oklahoma, after losing to Kansas State last year on the road, loses in Norman. Texas was down, looked like out against Texas Tech late, and they somehow win in overtime. The remaining undefeated Big 12 teams might, but that's as of now. I mean, Texas and Baylor might still lose.
Yeah, Texas is down 33-29 with a couple of minutes to go in that game. They're going to have to, you said, survived in their last game. They're going to have to survive again in this one.
Oklahoma State taking over inside its 40-yard line. Give to Chuba Hubbard. He's going nowhere. Might even lose a yard. Great job up front. That Jayhawk defensive line.
Yeah, and then Channel he was part of that goal line stand with Ferguson as well. Gets a nice tackle there as well. Doing a nice job.
This time a ton of running room for Hubbard into Kansas territory to the 45-yard line. Got about 20 yards there before he's taken down.
You know, listen, Chuba Hubbard deserves a ton of credit, but let's look at what he's running through. Look at the hole. I mean, Dave, you could run through that.
Illingworth taking a shot downfield off the fingertips of Tylan Wallace.
Going back to this punt, it did look like he got rolled into a bit. Was somewhat surprised that there was no call on that.
Especially because, you know, Mike, you could even made a case for roughing because he rolled into the plant leg. You're putting the kicker in danger when that happens. But instead there was no flag, not even for running into the kicker. Oklahoma State on 2nd and 10. Swing pass is dropped by Stoner. Let's go to Matt Berry.
I got your Rocket Mortgage studio update, gentlemen. Devin Leary to Emeka Emezie. Pittsburgh came into the game 3-0, and they get out with a loss. NC State first win of the season, 30-29.
Gonna be that kind of year.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
It's great for college football, though, at least for the fans. Maybe not for the coaches. Illingworth in trouble, and there's Channel. Nick Channel wasn't even on the 2 deep. Yet he's making all the plays for Kansas today.
Late pressure, this is a great way. I talked about confusing the line. Sometimes you come with late pressure, and there's 5 offensive linemen and only 4 rushers. That's what I mean about confusion. That shouldn't happen, but when you delay it a little bit and get the line sliding one way, all of a sudden you're running free, and you go back to the line to the sideline, and the offensive line coach for Oklahoma State saying, "What the heck just happened? We got enough to block, and we didn't. They got a man running free."
30-year-old sophomore Australian Tom Hutton to punt the ball here to Kwame Lassiter II. And Lassiter backing up. Fair catch. And Kansas will have the ball at the 10 when we come back. 3-0 Oklahoma State.
ESPN College Football is brought to you by the all-new Tech Forward 2020 Lincoln Corsair.
Les Miles went 28-21, went to 3 bowl games as the head coach at Oklahoma State, then got the LSU job. Now in his 2nd year in Lawrence, 3-9 a year ago, 1 victory in conference play. But in talking with him this week, Mike, you get a sense he feels good about the direction of the program. Got a true freshman quarterback, though. Jalen Daniels, just 17 years old, trying to find his way in his 2nd career start. And Puka Williams is drilled in the backfield by Israel Antwine. Loss of a couple on the play.
Yeah, he thinks in a couple of weeks, he thinks this team could be coming along and start to really improve. Remember, you got and I think a big reason for that is that man right there. You have a true freshman quarterback who needs reps and needs time under center and needs time seeing defenses and reads and quicken his reads up for this team to start to improve offensively.
Here's Lassiter in trouble. Another negative play. Wrestled down at the 4-yard line by Malcolm Rodriguez. So they'll have to operate inside their 5 here on 3rd and long.
And this is the right thing that they're doing, going to quick passes. You try and want to get early success. For any, we have 2 freshman quarterbacks here. Get that early success. So he has the short passes now, but unfortunately they're not working on the outside. One man has to block somebody, and then the guy with the ball has to make someone miss, but they're not even close to being able to execute that the right way. So now you get into a 3rd and long situation, and now it's going to be 3rd and even longer, 2 yards longer. It'll be half the distance, so it'll be from the 2-yard line now.
Offense, number 61, 5-yard penalty. Correction, half the distance to the goal. Repeat, 3rd down.
Not the position you want.
Offensive line. Yeah.
Not the position.
Mike, they got to keep their eye on 94.
Oh, without question. 94, Trace Ford, the talk of the Big 12 out here. They're saying could be the best player in all of the Big 12. 6'4", 248-pounder, has some great moves. Lines up basically all over the place.
They just run it here on 3rd down and 18 to try to give their punter a little bit more breathing room and maybe a 1-yard pickup for Puka Williams. And so Kyle Thompson, who may still be smarting after getting drilled on the last punt, now has to kick it from deep in his own end zone.
And he's going to do it in short as well. He won't be the normal distance back or be right around it. Got to make sure when he catches, he doesn't take that little step back out of bounds. And the rush came pretty strong up the gut. I thought he got run into. I thought it should have been a flag. Let's see if Oklahoma State tries it again or backs for a return.
No pressure that time. Short punt taken by Stoner at the 35 and brought down inside the 30-yard line. Well, following our game, we've got a terrific matchup, a pair of top 10 teams in the SEC. We'll see who the quarterback is for Georgia. JT Daniels is available. The Bulldogs taking on 7th-ranked Auburn between the hedges. Look at this week's college football rankings brought to you by Capital One. Alabama already on top of A&M, 7-0. And Texas lost.
So now 1 undefeated left in the Big 12, and you're watching them right now. And as far as Georgia, like I said, Juwan Mathis struggled. He was a starter. Stetson Bennett came in, did a little better, but JT Daniels now transferred in from USC, is able to go. So I would expect you would see him tonight. That's the guy they want to be relying on.
Here's Wallace on the jet sweep. Good open field stop there by Ferguson. against Tylan Wallace, who's not easy to bring down at 200 pounds.
Well, right now, the Kansas offense not doing anything, so a lot of pressure on the defense. And so far, guys like Nick Channel, who, again, isn't even in our 2 deep, and Devin Ferguson have been 2 of the guys that have really stepped up.
2nd down and 7 for Oklahoma State, leading 3-0. Play action pass. And to the sideline, Braden Johnson short of the line to gain, so it'll be 3rd down and 1.
Coaches are telling us Braden Johnson, one of the better route runners they have on this team. Easy out route now, 3rd and 1.
They've been in 3rd and short throughout this opening quarter. Here's Hubbard trying to get the perimeter. He does, and picks up a 1st down before he's knocked out of bounds by Feaster.
Jelani Woods, number 89, on the end. Watch him block and bury. Block and bury. Giving Chuba Hubbard the edge again. Chuba, these guys up in front are giving Chuba a lot of space.
Pass play here. Illingworth trying to elude pressure. He dumps it off to Hubbard, who gets back to the line of scrimmage. And that's about it. There is a penalty flag now.
Stop at 14, Steve Parker. There's a flag. Holding. Offense, number 50. 10-yard penalty. Still 1st down.
Fry Schneider, the big center, 320-pounder. It's a walk-on, got a scholarship last year. That'll back him up, help out this Kansas defense a bit.
1st and 20, Oklahoma State. Number 27.
So 1st and 20. Chuba Hubbard's already carried it 7 times. A couple of fumbles last week, but they were able to survive against Baylor. Didn't lose either fumble. Here's a screen, and it's caught by L.D. Brown inside the 15. And close to the 1st down as he runs out of play.
L.D. Brown. Pushed out of bounds by number 7.
Got an AT&T 5G studio update. What a finish we had in the Big 12. Texas, an opportunity to take the go-ahead lead late in the 4th quarter. Deontay Ingram fumbles the ball. TCU recovers, hangs on to win 33-31.
All right, Matt, we got an injured Kansas player, but man, what a crazy first few weeks it's been in the Big 12 with Texas nearly losing last week and then actually falling to TCU today.
Listen, when you're living on the edge, you know, occasionally you're going to fall off. And they were right in position to get it done again, as we see Kenny Logan for Kansas holding his stomach as he walks off the field. Looks like hopefully he'll be okay. But yeah, that's a tough way to go, especially this early in the season, Dave, to have a couple of games that close and really have to get it done. And that's when you have those magical seasons, when you pull those games off, you know, to keep your season going and stay undefeated. Unfortunately for Texas, they weren't able to do it.
And Baylor and West Virginia in overtime.
Kansas running out of bodies. Sorry, Dave. Kansas running out of bodies in the secondary. 2 of their starters, Ricky Thomas and Kyle Mayberry, did not dress today. Now you have Logan over on the bench. There's a lot of youth in the back end playing with great spirit, and they're not backing down, but a lot of inexperience for the Jayhawks secondary.
Deuce Mayberry, true freshman. Karan Prunty, true freshman. John Quay Lewis, true freshman. They're all playing today for Kansas. Talked about their quarterback, but he was one of 3 true freshmen to start last week against Baylor. Here's Brown trying to find some running room. Bottled up by Ferguson and Feaster, so a short game there.
You know, it's one of the things Les Miles said. He thought this team could be a little more exciting in a couple of weeks. And again, that a lot relies on Daniels, the quarterback. But he really thinks in a year or so, this is going to be a very exciting team. And a lot of that is just for what you said, Dave, and Quint was talking about as well. There's a lot of youth on this team that's getting early playing experience. So you're wide-eyed, and then the sooner you get rid of those wide eyes, the better. You got to get your nose blooded a little bit. You start to get your feet under a little more, get that experience, and good things start to happen.
Brown was able to get the first down, so first and goal. Here's Hubbard. Makes it all the way to the 3-yard line before he's brought down. Remember, Oklahoma State couldn't punch it in the last time that they were down deep in Jayhawk territory.
A lot of pressure on this Kansas defense. You know, you could ask so much of them. I know it's just the first quarter, but they've been on their heels plenty. They've answered the bell. The old bend but don't break. We'll see if they can continue that.
This is a 19th play run in Kansas territory as Hubbard is drilled at the line of scrimmage, spun away from the defender Ferguson, but again did not get in. So it's 3rd and goal from the 1.
I guess we keep our eye on Ferguson and Channel again. They seem to be the guys. Now, that was a good job by the D-line, not giving up any movement, letting Ferguson crash from the outside. But 41-7, gang. You need the big guys up front. There's nothing fancy here. That's where I lived on that D-line. You just don't get driven. Make a pile there and let the guys behind you make the play.
Run play on 3rd and goal. Hubbard able to get in. The first quarter touchdown this season for Oklahoma State. And Chuba Hubbard, who had 21 rushing touchdowns a year ago, now with 3 this year.
This time they go a little wide, get a little bit of movement on that D-line. Not so much backward, but sideways, so that starts to open up the holes a little bit. And one of the best things about Chuba Hubbard is his vision. He's patient. He sees something open up on the backside and takes advantage of it.
And Hale makes it 10-0 Oklahoma State.
10, Kansas nothing.
Chuba Hubbard Jr. from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Last year tore up college football, led the country with almost 2,100 rushing yards. After contact, he had almost 1,300 yards on the ground. Led the country with 15 run plays of 30 yards or longer. Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year.
Who knew he could ride a horse as well? It's impressive. One of the interesting things is last year he averaged like 6 yards a carry. Coming into this game, it was under 4, so about 3.5 yards a carry. That's what we talked about. And with a couple of fumbles, even though it was over 100 yards, his teammate L.D. Brown was as well. But, you know, it wasn't the Chuba Hubbard we had been used to seeing last year. This certainly looks more like it.
Here's Puka Williams on the return for Kansas, and he will not even make it to the 20-yard line, but there is a penalty flag now.
There was a flag on the play.
Usually a flag never good on the receiving team. A kick returns as Puka Williams going to the sideline now.
During the return, holding, return team number 39. Penalty is half the distance to the goal. First down.
We'll kick off your Week 4 NFL Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern with the Countdown Crew on ESPN and the ESPN app. A lot of stories, obviously the biggest one being the postponement of one game between Pittsburgh and Tennessee, and now another game involving the Patriots and Chiefs postponed because of quarterback Cam Newton testing positive for COVID-19. Jalen Daniels on first down has a completion out near the 14-yard line to Parchment.
Yeah, I mean, we saw that early on, Dave, in the baseball season with the Marlins and then the Cardinals, and they went through some postponements, and football had been pretty good the first couple of weeks. Now we're starting to see, you know, is it going to spread? Are these games delayed? Are they going to be canceled?
Williams stumbles and looks like he was able to get the first down, though.
So we already know Tennessee and Pittsburgh is going to go to Week 7 now. Now we have to wait and see what happens to Kansas City and New England. Is it Monday or Tuesday? Are they going to have to try and figure out a later time of them? A lot to talk about in the NFL.
Final seconds here of the first quarter. Daniels' pass is incomplete. Tried to hit Lassiter.
Good to see what they're doing now. You got that first down. Hey, let your defense breathe a little bit on the sidelines, catch your breath. But now Daniels throwing the ball not far down the field, but at least it's forward, not sideways. And then you ask your receivers and or running backs out of the backfield to make some defenders miss.
This is a stout Oklahoma State defense. And Daniels with a nice move, but Abang Bamiga did a nice job there to hang on to him and bring him to the ground as we end the first quarter in Lawrence. 17th ranked Oklahoma State getting its offense going, leading 10-0 over the Jayhawks. Two of the top running backs in the Big 12, certainly one of the best in the country in Chuba Hubbard, a Heisman Trophy candidate, and Puka Williams over 1,000 yards in each of his first 2 seasons at Kansas. But right now, Puka has been held in check, just 10 yards on 4 attempts. Meanwhile, Hubbard already over 50 yards and a touchdown. But Oklahoma State's defense is really the story. Another sack of Kansas quarterback Jalen Daniels to force a punt.
Yeah, he was going to try and escape up the middle of that one, but this Oklahoma State defense, and now Daniels is limping a bit as well. I thought he was getting up a little slow. It has been minor nicks for Kansas so far, just absolutely no room on offense, and credit Oklahoma State for that.
One of the reasons Daniels is starting is because Thomas McVitie, who started the opener, he's not 100%, injured his shoulder. Stoner is the deep man for Oklahoma State. He's got it around the 33. Let's go to the studio and Matt.
Gentlemen, other than you two, the Big 12 wins the entertainment of the day so far. In the double overtime, Charlie Brewer picked off. What an interception back in the end zone. So Mountaineers ball, opportunity to win it. Letty Brown, touchdown. Mountaineers win 27-21.
And one unbeaten left in the Big 12, Oklahoma State.
Listen, everybody who's watching, call your friends, call your family, call anybody you know. Say, if you want to watch the only undefeated Big 12 team, tune into this game right now. Hope the bosses heard that.
They're always watching and listening. So first down for Oklahoma State on its 34-yard line. They have 113 yards of offense. Illingworth taking a shot here, and it's caught by Braden Johnson. Johnson to the end zone. Touchdown, Oklahoma State. 66 yards.
Deuce Mayberry on the defense at the bottom of the screen. Nothing fancy. It's going long, and Illingworth throws it to the inside. You think he's going to streak right down, and the pass goes inside, and only Johnson saw it going inside and broke inside, and Mayberry not at all noticing where it was. The easy touchdown. Oh boy.
And the first of Shane Illingworth's career. Made his first career start last week. The coaches say he's a really confident kid, carries himself like an upperclassman. He's been in command so far. His team's up 17-0.
And the guy he beat, Deuce Mayberry, one of those true freshmen in the defensive backfield we have been talking about for Kansas. So an early education for Kansas and a 17-0 lead for Oklahoma State.
This season, for every field goal and extra point made by participating universities, Allstate will make a contribution to the university's General Scholarship Fund. Thank you, Allstate. Quint Kesnick is in Lawrence. Mike Golick is in Bristol. I'm Dave Pasch from Phoenix. Got you covered from all angles here for Oklahoma State and Kansas, and it is 17-0. Cowboys, 66-yard touchdown pass, tying their longest play from scrimmage this season. Puka Williams on the return for KU. Got a flag down. Oh, wow. Puka planted. Huge hit by Jake Schultz.
Wow. I think we're going to get a block in the back, though. I mean, this just keeps rolling on you at this point. Kansas just looking for any kind of a spark, something to go their way. And you have the guy you want with the ball in his hands. Doesn't get the return you want, but then you possibly back it up.
There is no foul for an illegal block in the back. The contact was determined to be at the side. First down.
All right, let's check in with Quint.
This Cowboys defense has been really superb this season. Talking to Jim Knowles, their DC, he loves their corners, their ability to play man on the outside, and then the depth on the defensive line, Mike. He said, you look at this league, and over the course of the season, the ability to play multiple linemen so important.
Got a new quarterback in there, Quint. Puka Williams has the ball, but Miles Kendrick is in the game at quarterback. Played in the season opener against Coastal Carolina. You have to wonder about the health of both McVitie and Daniels right now.
Yeah, played 4 games in 2018, then redshirted freshman year. He played at San Mateo College.
Give it to Puka again, and Williams is dumped about a yard short of the line to gain by Cameron Murray and Tyler Lacey.
Just get first down, just try and move these sticks. Again, twofold, get you a little confidence. The other, rest up that defense. Yard to go out. I think there'll still be a run, maybe a quarterback keep this time. We'll see if he options it.
But as Quint was saying, not easy against that front 7 or 8 of Oklahoma State.
Oh,
right on cue with the big hit on Puka Williams. It was Trey Sterling, safety, junior from Sunnyvale, Texas, who was in there first. 4th down.
Well, the problem is Kansas is no threat on the pass at all. So you can play, 18 guys in the box, until they prove they can do something over the top. And they can't.
You agree with this here, Mike? Go for it on 4th down. You like this?
Listen, I mean, what direction is this game going anyway? I mean, your punt, you get in the short field because the punts haven't been going long. So try and build a little bit of confidence.
And Williams able to get the first down out to the 34.
So let's look at Daniels. Remember, he limped off last series on the sack, tried to step up. Couldn't really see where he took the shot. Definitely limping, though. By the way, Dave, I agree with the 4th down call there.
Yeah. Obviously, the danger was as Kendrick's pass is caught by Les Miles' son, Ben, a gain of a couple. The danger is if you don't get it, the game's over. But to your point, maybe the game is over anyway.
Exactly. I like the play there, even though it didn't gain a lot of yards, a short pass. You got to get Miles, warm in this game a little bit, getting him a run or two, and then you're going to have to start working it down the field at some point. But you see where the game is. You're not going to go for big plays right now. You just have to try and establish some consistency.
All right, can you move the ball, get a few first downs against this defense? Kendrick's pass almost caught by an offensive lineman off the redirection. It was deflected at the line of scrimmage and then almost caught.
Now look, Clark almost made the catch.
On the 10th there.
Yeah, he's out now walking around, definitely limping, looks to be in a little bit of pain. And again, he's a guy that is the threat of running, and if he's lower body hurt and you take that threat away, that hurts the flow of the offense. 3rd and long. Watch for the pressure. They like man, does Oklahoma State, but love bringing that pressure. Look at the guys all up on that D line, moving around. This is the thing now on the defense. You move around trying to, as I talked about, confuse the O-line and blocking.
Kendrick, incomplete. 4th down. Intended for Takalve Williams, and Kansas will punt.
Yeah. There's no going for it on 4th and 9. As Les is going to tell his players, at halftime, we got a long way till halftime, but it's just about keep fighting, the effort, execute, do what you're asked to do. You just want to see players, especially the young players, get better.
Thompson punting. Stoner is deep, signaling, and has it around the 14-yard line. That was a good kick that time. 5th punt, though, for Kansas. Oklahoma State all over the Jayhawks in Lawrence, 17-0. Look at today's fast delivery brought to you by DoorDash.
Shane Illingworth, nothing fancy here. Straight bomb to the very fast Braden Johnson, being covered by true freshman Deuce Mayberry. And you have Braden Johnson running. The guy ran a 21-1 in high school in the 200 meters. He had 21.3 yards per catch last season. Led the team with that. He is the big play guy. And by the way, DoorDash, I am in Studio D at ESPN. If you could run something up to me.
Well, you got to make a choice, though. I mean, you can't just tell DoorDash to bring anything.
Just
right?
stop anywhere, pick up anything, and bring it to me. I'll pay.
Penalty marker down. It was donuts 2 weeks ago. What was it last week?
I had
More
ice
donuts?
cream. I had ice cream ready.
Prior to the snap. False start. Offense, number 70. 5-yard penalty. Still first down.
That's Hunter Woodard, the right guard. So you see the quarterback there, Jalen Daniels of Kansas, going back to the locker room for further evaluation. Quint will get you an update when we get one, if we get one.
Yeah, not good there. So your first two quarterbacks in the first few games hurt.
After the penalty, 1st and 15 at the 10.
L.D. Brown getting the carry on 1st and 15. Checking with Matt Berry in the studio.
Guys, we have a decent game brewing in Tuscaloosa between Alabama and A&M. Interception here by DeMarvin Leal. Looks like he's going to get a pick 6 off the Mac Jones miss, but then Kellen Mond throws the touchdown pass.
All right, Matt. Here it's 17-0 Oklahoma State. L.D. Brown run down to the 20-yard line by Davon Ferguson, bringing up 3rd down and long.
Well, I'll tell you what, Kansas City defense, or the Kansas defense, is, we know they're having a tough time out there, but Devin Ferguson is having himself a day. He is flying all over the field. And Channel getting a lot of time. Drew Prox, the normal starter, has been nicked up. So Channel getting the start.
Illingworth, true freshman quarterback for Oklahoma State, has a 1st down completion to Tylan Wallace. And they move the chains out past the 30-yard line.
I mean, at this point, they're just able to run anything they want on offense. It was just going to keep a defense that's struggling even more on their heels. They're more reacting than attacking. And against an offense like this, who's starting to get into their groove. They really weren't in it their first couple of games. Now they're certainly getting into it.
Here's Brown and a huge running lane. Picks up around 18 that time. Getting closer to midfield again.
Look at the center here, Rye Schneider. Taking care of Burt, the nose tackle. It's like they were slanting that way as well. And when a D-line is slanting one way, you just continue to take them that way and you widen the hole out, which is exactly what he did.
Illingworth going deep again. My goodness, wide open. Touchdown, Tylan Wallace. Nobody back defensively anywhere near the receiver, and it goes for 55 yards.
Yeah, Elijah Jones was the closest one to him, but that by no means am I going to sit there and say it was on him. I need to see this again. See, he's the one covering him. Now, looks like he's waiting for help. Giving him the inside and was expecting help. So either we were supposed to get help or there was a miscommunication, because obviously nobody was supposed to be that wide open. It's a long, long day for that defense.
And Oklahoma State's offense coming alive after struggling by their standards through weeks 1 and 2. They've got 24 points 18 minutes into this game, basically. Wow. Oklahoma State 24-0 over Kansas on the road.
Back in Lawrence, Kansas, the Cowboys up 24-0, and 2 stoppages ago, up on the big screen here, they started showing highlights of TCU, Texas, and every single member of the Oklahoma State sideline gazing up at the big board, completely distracted. And I wonder what Mike Gundy's thinking about these guys. It's bad enough that athletes now have phones that they're on all the time, but you got big screens and scoreboards in their face. Mike, you think Coach Gundy will let them look at their phones at halftime to check the out-of-town scoreboard?
I think today he's going to maybe let them do whatever they want. This is going to be a tough one to find many negatives at this point.
Puka Williams on the return for Kansas. Brought down at the 23. Let's go back to the studio and check in with Matt.
All right, gentlemen, we showed you the interception of Mac Jones that set this up. Kellen Mond to Ryan Rennick right over the middle, and Texas A&M is tied with Alabama 14-all in the second.
Well, Kellen Mond is a real talent at quarterback for A&M. If the Aggies are to win that game, he's going to have to be spectacular.
I believe this is Kellen Mond's 4th start against Alabama. And the first 3 didn't go his way.
Miles Kendrick getting another series. You saw Jalen Daniels going back to the locker room, and we don't know about Thomas McVitie, who was hurt week 1 if he's available. That pass incomplete. Intended for Andrew Parchment.
You know, quickly going back to Oklahoma State, watching that about Texas. They have a bye next week, and then 2 of their next 3 games are against the 2 teams that were undefeated going into games today. They're at Baylor, then they play Iowa State, and then Texas. So that's coming up, and they do have the bye next week. So you wonder at Baylor if Spencer Sanders is going to be back for them, a quarterback.
There's Puka, maybe 1 yard. Yeah, Sanders, they wanted to see him close to 80% as a runner, and at this stage, obviously, it's not worth the risk. You get another couple weeks of rest before that Baylor game. They have to go to Kansas State as well. That doesn't look to be an easy chore. And Wildcats took down the Sooners last week, and their game with Oklahoma, Bedlam, will be in Norman November 21st.
That's coming off a bye too, which is usually a good thing.
Kendrick to throw here on 3rd down. It's caught but short of the line to gain. We'll see if they go for it here. Brought in by Williams.
3rd and 1. I mean, you went for it on, or 4th and 1. You went for it last time. I'd imagine you try it again. I mean, a lot of learning experiences. Sometimes the learning comes with a lot of bruises. And now they look like, I think they thought about it. Now, not so much.
You can hear some boos. Again, only about 10,000 fans in attendance.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to get the snap off in time. They're not going to. Well, they have to because they subbed out, they have to let Oklahoma State sub out as well.
Kansas.
So the ref will stand over the ball until the defense is ready. And the clock was running. That's exactly what's supposed to happen. So they did what they were supposed to do. And now we have the timeout. Is Kansas going to punt away, and Oklahoma State another chance to put more points on the board?
So Kyle Thompson to punt it again here for Kansas. Probably upset we keep saying his name.
Yeah.
Don't have a choice as Dylan Stoner is back again, and the fair catch made around the 18-yard line of Oklahoma State. Monday Night Football comes your way from Lambeau Field this week as the unbeaten Packers take on Atlanta at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific time. ESPN Deportes and the ESPN app. Our coverage starts with Monday Night Countdown at 6. How about the way Aaron Rodgers is playing here through the first 3 weeks? 9 touchdowns, no picks.
And they put up 122 points already this year. Only one other team is over 100, and that would be, we could figure it out the way Russell Wilson has been playing Seattle. So just 2 teams over 100 points. And we keep complaining they never get Aaron Rodgers any weapons, and he just keeps lighting it up.
Deflection through the hands of Jelani Woods and almost picked off on the redirection by Elijah Jones. It's almost like they want Aaron Rodgers to be angry because he plays better that way, right?
Yes. Hey, how do we get him angry? Oh, let's draft a quarterback in the 1st round. Let's not get him any receivers in free agency, by trade, or by draft. Get him really mad and then watch him, be an MVP candidate.
Here's Chuba Hubbard getting the call on 2nd and 10. Driven to the ground by Kenny Logan, but after a gain of about 5.
Again, there's holes there. This time a nice fill. Marcus Harris hangs on to him from the D-line, and then he gets some help from Kenny Logan as well, making it, again, 3rd and 5. This is what, you know what? At this point, Dave, you're looking for little victories. This would certainly be one, getting a 3 and out.
And they're just going to run Hubbard, and they do get a stop. Gain of just 2. Nick Channel again getting a hand in there to make the tackle.
Well, as I said, every side of the ball there's something that you're playing for, and then every player as well. Now Nick Channel's getting a chance. As you mentioned, he wasn't even on our 2 deep. Here's a guy that's getting a chance to. He played in the first 2 games this season, didn't record any stats at all. Now he's getting the chance to play this entire game. And, you know, he's putting some good film together, you know, doing some good things. This is next man up. Take advantage of your opportunity.
Tom Hutton to punt it deep to Kwame Lassiter. Lassiter under it at the 42-yard line. Last week, the world lost one of the best running backs to ever play. Gale Sayers, former Kansas Jayhawk and Chicago Bear, 4th overall pick in 1965. Only played in the league for 7 years, but he was a 2-time NFL rushing leader. And at age 34, the youngest ever elected to the Pro Football Hall of Fame back in 1977. Sayers wore number 40 with the Bears, number 48 when he played in Lawrence for Kansas. Here's Puka Williams, who has 1,000 yards rushing each of the last 2 years. The first guy to do that since Gale Sayers. Aflac. Our Aflac trivia question. Kansas has 3 former players in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Obviously, Gale Sayers is one of them. Can you name the other 2?
Oh, boy. Let me Google.
That's unfair. You can't do that. I know it's much easier when you're doing it.
I won't.
Not
Google.
at the stadium. You got multiple computers at your disposal, but no cheating.
You know what's interesting? Gale Sayers said he intended to go to the University of Iowa, but on his trip to Iowa, the head coach then, Jerry Burns, did not meet with him. Said he didn't have time to meet with Sayers on his on-campus visit, his one-campus visit. So he said, well, all right, not going there. Ends up at Kansas. You never know the little twists and turns of how you end up somewhere.
Now coaches are jumping on private planes to see anybody. Gale Sayers is on campus and they wouldn't see him.
Gale Sayers just said, give me 18 inches of daylight. That's all he needed.
3rd and 6. The pass is incomplete. 4th down. Well, I'm not going to give you the answer, but one of the other Pro Football Hall of Famers who played at Kansas is a running back. That's a hint. The other's a guy that I don't think you would have squared off against. I'm trying to think at some point in your career. I don't think so. I think he's probably 20 years older than you, so I'm guessing no.
I'm so bad at trivia. I need Wingo. I need my Golica Wingo partner, Trey Wingo. He's great at this trivia. I'm horrible at it.
I'm only good because I have the answer right in front of me. Fair catch made at the 11-yard line. That's where Oklahoma State will start this drive. All right, time for the Aflac trivia question answer. Kansas, 3 former players in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Gale Sayers, John Riggins. And I was trying to think, did you go up against Mike McCormack at any point?
No, did not.
Great offensive lineman.
Yeah.
Coached, also was in management. I think he's in 2 different Rings of Honor, Seattle and Carolina. I know Carolina.
John Riggins, I should have got that. That's bad out of me.
Well, you definitely would have played against Riggins.
Yes, right? I am that old.
Okay.
I think so.
Hey, I asked if you played against Mike McCormack. I mean, he's much older than both you and Riggins is. Hubbard gets a gain of about 3. Let's go to Matt Berry.
All right, guys, I'm going to give you some stats in the SMU-Memphis game. Reggie Robertson, 3 catches, 182 yards, and this one of his 2 touchdowns. And my partner, Joey Galloway, wishes he had breakaway speed like this. SMU up 24-10.
Yeah, Galloway could only run like a 4.25 back in the day. By the way, how about some of these group of 5 teams as Hubbard picks up a first down and brought down at the 26. BYU looked great last night.
Great. Against Louisiana Tech. That was I didn't see that one coming. BYU really played well.
We saw UCF last week, and Cincinnati's pretty good. Memphis is too, but SMU on top as Illingworth goes to the ground that time.
By the way, Dave, John Riggins played until 85. That's when I got in the league, but I broke my ankle. I was on IR that year, so I was actually in the league, but not playing then, so I did not play against him.
Okay. 2nd and 6. Here's Hubbard. First down for Oklahoma State.
Guys mentioning the group of 5 last week. I saw Cincinnati at home just do a terrific job defensively against Army. Bearcats under Luke Fickell now, I think defensively as good as any in the group of 5. Question marks on O, but certainly one of the favorites in the American.
I agree. There's some tough teams coming out of there as we see the Big 12 go, teams going down one after the other. As Kenny Logan down again, he was nicked up a little earlier on this game, sitting up at this point. So that's what's going to make this thing interesting. The first college football playoff, ranking is November 24th. They push that, a week, as we talked about that last week, and then making that final selection, I think December 20th, right after the championship games. So where's that group of 5 going to be in all this?
Still think it's virtually impossible for a group of 5 team to get in. Now, I know Larry Scott, the Pac-12 commissioner, was hoping that they would expand, and I'm sure all the group of 5 guys wanted expanded as well, but it will not expand to 6 or 8 this year.
Who said that on this broadcast? Huh? Who talked about that? That was me, wasn't it?
You did? You hit that? I think you hit that.
I just said it. They're not going to do it, so it's not like I get a prize or anything.
Wide receiver screen to Tylan Wallace. Lowers the shoulder on the defender all the way to the Kansas 44-yard line. So the number of games played at the time of the first college football playoff rankings, and you threw that out to me. Think about it. The ACCs, some of those teams are going to play 10 games before the Pac-12 has barely played 3. Screen to this side, Johnson. Down at the 41, pick up the feet.
As I said, I think this is going to be the toughest job for the committee, subjectively, how they're going to pick. Again, 3 games against 10 games, 5 games against 9 or 10 games. Again, that's only the first ranking, but that's still, the disparity is huge.
But what will be interesting is LD Brown gets the call here and has a first down. Is the reaction of everybody when the committee puts that first ranking out, because it's going to be hard, if Oregon's 3-0 or Arizona State or USC got an injured Jayhawk, Davon Ferguson. How you rank those guys compared to a 1-loss Big 12 team. What's the reaction going to be like nationally?
You're right. The first ranking is going to be very interesting. Then after a few more, when they have more, we'll see as Ferguson, who we talked about a lot in this game early on, was grabbing his shoulder right away. So looks like he's in a bit of pain. Hopefully it's nothing serious.
So November 24th, first rankings release, and then December 20th will be the selection show. The Rose Bowl game and the All-State Sugar Bowl are the college football playoff semifinal games on New Year's Day. Boy, it'll be great to just flip the calendar, won't it? For a lot of reasons. And then January 11th, the college football playoff championship game in Miami.
Yeah, I will not be participating in any way, shape, or form in Miami for that, because I go back to 2012 when Notre Dame played Alabama, and both my kids were on the Notre Dame team. We have blocked that out of the Golick household forever. So,
what if Notre Dame's in the college football playoff national championship? Would you go then?
Yes.
You'll make an exception if they are in the title game. Hey, that's not a stretch, right? I mean, what if they beat Clemson? Even if their 1 loss is against Clemson.
They may get them twice if they play them in the regular season, then have to play them again in the conference championship game.
Here's Hubbard, big running lane, just tripped up enough to get him to the ground, though.
A lot of people talked about that early on, since Notre Dame being in the ACC and that, but boy, Miami, they are playing some ball, and I know those two will match up, Clemson and Miami, next week. See where that one goes. But as I've said before, we talk about Miami now the last couple of years like we do Texas. Are they back? A couple of years ago, how well they were playing and then tripping up at the end. So they'll get an early test coming up next week for sure.
Oklahoma State near the red zone here, just outside, 2 minutes to go. Here's a back shoulder fade, and Tylan Wallace unable to come up with it. Incomplete.
Elijah Jones on the coverage there. 5 tackles last week against Baylor, career high for him. Wallace looking for the flag, as most receivers do.
Already 5 catches, over 100 yards, and a touchdown today. Here he is on a backwards pass inside the 15-yard line. Tylan Wallace, who has a twin brother, Trayson, who unfortunately career cut short because of 3 ACL tears. He's now a part of the Oklahoma State football staff. Tylan's got a bright future ahead of him in football at the next level, you would think. Here's Chuba Hubbard on the cutback, and Hubbard to the end zone. Touchdown, Oklahoma State. It's 30-0.
He just has an uncanny ability to just patiently wait, and you think someone's going to catch up to him. Wait, pick a spot. I mean, it's really impressive, and that's just his natural ability, great vision. But he is very patient, and linemen love that. You think it usually gives time for the defenders to get there, but the vision is so good. And the line knows, just stay on our block, make the defense trade 1 for 1, and eventually our running back is going to find the hole and make the yards.
So they have a 100-yard receiver and a 100-yard rusher here in the first half. Hubbard with 109 rushing yards on 17 attempts and 2 scores. 11-play, 88-yard drive. The point after makes it 31-0.
Well, I mean, listen, it pretty much says it all of what this guy has been able to do. Really been incredible. According to, again, our Todd McShay, the second best running back coming out of the draft, number 32 overall. Certainly a guy who's going to get his chance at the next level, and you know we need backs, and he'll work on it as well in the offseason. We know he can run. He also does a nice job, you know, the other things backs have to do, catch the ball out of the backfield. And the biggest question mark normally for a running back who runs the ball out is how well are they on protection. You want to be out on the field on 3rd down, you got to do 2 things. You got to be able to catch the ball out of the backfield, and you better be able to pick up a blitzing linebacker. You better be able to protect your quarterback, or you will not be on the field. So we know he has a running part down. He'll work on the catching stuff out of the backfield. We know he can do that some, and he absolutely has to be able to pick up that blitz.
And he's protected the ball so far today. Had the 2 fumbles last week, 11 for his career, but only 2 lost fumbles, and those occurred in 2018. So it's been a couple of years. Hookah Williams got to the 30, and that's it. Let's go to the studio and hear from Matt Berry.
All right, guys, coming up on the Lexus halftime report, Texas gets got by Gary Patterson and TCU, plus another entertaining game of the Big 12. Baylor, West Virginia, need a couple overtimes for that. Plus A&M and Alabama in a good one. Bama starting to pull away a little bit. Jesse Palmer, Joey Galloway join me coming up on the Lexus halftime report.
A lot of great games in the SEC today, with Florida beating South Carolina. Of course, coming up next year on ESPN, you got Auburn and Georgia. Although every week in the SEC, especially this year with the added conference games, going to be outstanding. Kendrick, who is in for the injured Jalen Daniels, has a completion as we're inside 2 minutes to go. Kansas down by 31.
Yeah, Georgia just got to get their quarterback situation squared out, maybe with JT Daniels. We have a player down, and he was hit by his own man on that one.
Malcolm Rodriguez, the injured player.
Yeah, his own defensive lineman was coming to make the play downfield, and really hit Rodriguez hard, bent him over backward. Watch right at the end there, big man coming in. Brendan Evers. big guys running that far, they just want to hit somebody. They ran all that way. Unfortunately, it was his own guy there. I'm not kidding. You run all that way, you want to hit somebody. You don't want to waste all that running. But
so you've taken out plenty of teammates back in the day?
Listen, I've been hitting the back as well. I'll be holding up a running back, and a safety will come flying in and put his head and shoulder down right in the middle of my back. So it can definitely happen both ways.
Puka Williams out of the backfield. A catch made by Takalve Williams out to the 41. Kansas going up tempo here, trying to get some points before intermission.
Williams, a lead receiver, coming in at 12 catches on the year coming into this game.
Kansas has just 10 first-half points this season. Williams again with a catch out to the 45-yard line. Kansas still with 2 timeouts left.
And Oklahoma State's giving them this. They're playing back a little bit, giving me underneath. And I think it's smart. Kansas, take advantage of it. You have time, you have timeouts.
Got a timeout taken by Oklahoma State. Talk things over defensively here for the final 51 seconds.
Oklahoma State, their first of the game. 3-second timeout.
All right, UFC Fight Night from Fight Island, Abu Dhabi. Holly Holm taking on Arini Aldana in the main event. Prelims start at 7:30 Eastern on ESPN Plus. The main card, 10:30 Eastern on ESPN. ESPN Plus in both English and Spanish. To get ESPN Plus, go to ESPNplus.com or download the ESPN app.
I always thought when they were talking about that, when Dana White was talking about, you know, where he was going to have his fights and brought up Fight Island, we thought that was the coolest thing. Fight Island. Now, granted, they're not really on an island, but because that's what we all thought, some deserted island, you know.
Yeah, like a movie.
Put up an octagon right in the sand, you know, and have at it, since no one else can really be there. But, you know, the term is still good.
Just trying to find any sort of way to create a bubble, right?
Yep,
I mean,
exactly.
The first positives to the NFL this week. Here's a deep pass that's overthrown and incomplete. Flag down. And the NFL teams and the college teams have been trying to create their own bubble the best they can. And you know you're going to have some positive tests. You just hope it doesn't lead to outright cancellations of games in the NFL. Obviously, in college, that's going to happen. And everybody else playing different number of games depending on the conference.
Defense, number 0. 10-yard penalty from the previous spot. It results in an automatic first down.
You know, again, in college, especially for the teams that have been playing, Dave, they've had the built-in cushion, like Notre Dame and Wake Forest. They're going to play, I believe, December 12th. But you're going to get to the Pac-12 and the Big Ten. They have 0 cushion. They have no cushion at all. So if it happens to one of those teams, those 2 teams aren't going to be able to make it up.
Here is Kendrick rolling out, going to step out. Right, so let's say Oregon, which right now, if you look, the Pac-12 put the schedule out today. I mean, Oregon is the highest ranked team. What if Oregon goes undefeated but loses a game in the sense of they don't play a game? So now they've only played 5 games? I mean,
So
how are you going to put a team that's played 5 games in the college football play?
Yeah, I don't know. And I mean, I guess that's what we say a lot about this year and a lot of things. I don't know. The bubble sports have worked incredibly well. Outside the bubble, it's been a little more iffy, though. Baseball is finishing up strong, no doubt about it. Wow, what a
pass is intercepted. Devin Harper with the pick for Oklahoma State.
Number 16, Devin Harper.
Wow, Devin Harper, 5th-year senior. What a great job just snagging that ball out of the air. Ball too much inside, needed some air on the outside of that one. And, you know, it's a quarterback not getting a ton of reps. You know, with the starters, he put that one on a line, tried to get it into his receiver before the safety came up. You know, that's when you may want to think about a back shoulder so the safety can't get over there, but just tried to drill it in the hole there, and nice pick. Good hands by Harper. They usually say that's why you're a defensive back, because you can't catch very well. He caught that one like a receiver.
We'll see how Oklahoma State handles the final 29 seconds. You're up 31-0. Do they just take a knee and show a little mercy here, or does yep, that's what they're going to do.
That was a popular interception, Dave, on the Oklahoma State sideline. You mentioned the senior posing for turnover cam with his teammates, about 10 of them at the right side 10. Where does that photo end up, guys?
Well, I mean, let's be honest, on somebody's Twitter page, right? Or Instagram or whatever else. It's going to end up on one of those, right?
Probably all of them.
Yeah. I'll like it. Put it up there. I'll give it a like.
Oklahoma State gets the ball to start the second half, too, leading 31-0 over Kansas. True freshman quarterback Shane Illingworth, impressive. But how about that Oklahoma State defense getting sacks, creating turnovers? Let's go to Matt Barrett.
Guys, thank you. Welcome into the Lexus Halftime Report.
'Cause we going higher. We up to the heavens. We going higher. Way up, we going way up.
Just 3 weeks into the college football season for Big 12 teams. There's only one unbeaten left in the conference, Oklahoma State. And it certainly looks like it's going to stay that way with the Cowboys up 31-0 over Kansas at halftime. Our first half strats brought to you by PlayStation 5. Oklahoma State did whatever it wanted offensively. The defense continues to be out for the Cowboys. Kansas could not convert on third down and had just 60 yards against that Cowboy D. Dave Pasch from home here in Arizona. Mike Golick is in Bristol. Quint Esnick is in Lawrence. All right, Mike, take me into the locker room at halftime. Now, what do you think these coaches are telling their teams?
Well, certainly, I've been on both sides of the coin in this one through my career. As far as Les Miles, he's going to tell his team 0-0. We're going to go out like we're starting the game again, try and establish our game plan. They're not going to try any big plays. Just try and establish a game plan again, just like at the start of the game when it was zip. Now, Mike Gundy, I guarantee you, told his assistant coaches, tell the backups to get ready to go, and then tell the starters, play hard for maybe a quarter, maybe a half a quarter, and then you're going to be done for the day.
Short kickoff return. Wolf takes it out to the 32. Here's Quint. All right, having a technical issue there with Quint's mic. We'll get that fixed. So you look at Mike Gundy in his 16th year as the head coach of Oklahoma State. And if he is to win this game, it would get him 131 wins, moving him into 5th among active coaches with number of victories at their current school, tying Kyle Whittingham of Utah. And they won't even play for another month. There's Wallace out to the 35 for a couple.
So again, they'll run their normal offense. You know, won't you just run between the tackles? They'll let their starters do their thing for a little while longer. And then this is where the backups will get a lot of time.
Chuba Hubbard with the cutback. Up past the 40 as the first down and more. And he's finally run out of play by Davon Ferguson. All right, let's try a Quint's mic again.
First and 10, Oklahoma State in the Kansas 37.
Some defensive depth, and then this offensive line that's had 2 key injuries already this season. These are game-like reps that really helps this team get sharp, helps their conditioning. So this is not like throwaway time for the Cowboys.
Well, everybody's had interrupted practice time, so Illingworth continues to throw strikes. This one to Dylan Stoner.
I think, Dave, we have a Kansas player down again. I think the biggest question is going to be, again, there's Ferguson grabbing that shoulder. We've seen this a couple of times now. Wasn't sure if he was going to come back, but he's been playing tough today, sticking that shoulder in there on tackles. And, you know, it may be time to, he may want to come back in again because he looked like this the last time he was down, but maybe time to let him heal up a little bit. The biggest question to me, Dave, is going to be, remember, they have a bye next week. Is Spencer Sanders going to be back at quarterback? Illingworth again getting quality reps for a true freshman. Didn't expect to play the true freshman. Expected to play the true sophomore or the redshirt sophomore in Spencer Sanders. So he's been available the last 2 weeks, but they didn't feel he had the mobility yet to be out there. So now 2 more weeks of training and healing up until the next game. So you wonder if he's back under center in a couple of weeks.
I'd be shocked if Spencer Sanders is healthy if he's not playing. Right?
I agree.
Given,
yes.
I mean, what he did last year, freshman of the year in the Big 12, as good as Tylan Wallace and Chuba Hubbard are, Spencer Sanders makes that thing go.
Completely agree. I would imagine when he has the mobility, they feel he can be what he needs to be. I think he'll be back under center, yes.
But Illingworth has shown the coaching staff that if something happens to Sanders again, he can step in and hold down the fort. Maybe do more than that. Illingworth getting outside the pocket and runs out of play around the 19-yard line.
And that's key, Dave. I mean, it's a long season, and right now, as we've talked about, they're the only undefeated team left in the Big 12. So you don't know when Spencer Sanders, when he comes back, how he's going to be, or if anything happens down the road. So these reps, as Quinn talked about, are valuable to be getting, especially for a true freshman. Every one of them, he's learning more and more.
Hubbard on 2nd and 6 as the first down. Sanders last year missed the final 3 games basically due to injury. He's already missed time this year due to injury. So to your point, there is a history there for Sanders of getting banged up. So Illingworth getting important reps here, even in blowout time. Play action. Illingworth with time. Touchdown. Tylan Wallace, 37-0 Oklahoma State.
What a day Tylan Wallace is having. 8 catches, 138 yards, and a couple of touchdowns. And this reminds me of that 3rd or 4th preseason game, or 2nd or 3rd preseason game in the NFL, where the starters come out for that 3rd quarter, that first drive, run their normal offense. That's what we saw Oklahoma State just do. They ran their normal offense down the field. Now we'll see if they start to make some adjustments.
Another Alex Hale point after. Makes it 38-zip. Tylan Wallace with, what's that look like? The freak out chain? Is that what that said there? Not a turnover chain, but a touchdown chain, I guess.
Yeah, I guess it would be a touchdown chain, and he's been a guy able to wear him today a couple of times. Speedy receiver with 2 scores today. Big lead for Oklahoma State.
I was frustrated as hell. It's the first drive of the season. I'm excited. I want to play. So it's more of like I got going. I just started getting comfortable. And I was like, let's go. And then.
Spencer Sanders, Oklahoma State quarterback, who injured his right ankle September 19th in the first quarter against Tulsa. Mike Gundy telling us that he could have played Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Thursday this week. I watched him warm up. And he certainly, he could have played today, but as you guys mentioned, I think they want him 100%. Bye week coming up for a guy, an often injured speedster. You put in his highlight clips from last year, Mike and Dave, and his speed just jumps off the page.
He's a guy who was tied as the highest rated quarterback in the Gundy era with Bobby Reed, a 4-star talent. So what he showed last year was absolutely incredible with how well he played. The Big 12 Offensive Freshman of the Year that was voted by the league coaches, ranked 6th among freshmen nationally, a little over 244 yards of total offense per game. He was having a heck of a year, and the coaches weren't really happy with Tulsa tackling. They they were tackling him a bit low, and that's how he ended up getting that ankle injury.
Catch made by Arnold out of bounds, short of the line to gain. The other thing that's interesting too about Sanders is his style of play is different than what Mike Gundy is used to.
Yes.
Mason Rudolph and Brandon Whedon are stand-still pocket guys. They can move, but certainly not like Sanders. The guy that they said is probably closest to Sanders is Zach Robinson. They actually called him more of an Oklahoma type running back rather than quarterback, rather than an Oklahoma State type quarterback. Getting outside that time was Miles Kendrick, and a couple injured Oklahoma State players after that collision.
Yeah, that's Obong Bamiga. That's Amon. I think he got hit by his own guy again, and it's a nice job by Kendrick. Getting outside, he first put a move on Amon to get outside. Amon had him, and he broke outside and ran, and then I think he caught some hit by his own player. Somewhat we saw a little earlier from Malcolm Rodriguez from Oklahoma State, got hit by his own guy. Let's see at the end of this. Yeah. Yeah. Darius Williams ended up kind of snapping his head back a little bit on that hit. He's okay.
He is such a important part of this defense. Really intelligent, got the big smile, cares about others. I thought he was honest and upfront when he talked about his bout with COVID earlier this summer. And so far this season, he has played fast and decisive. He says he's been paying attention to the details in practices, and it's been carrying over. I thought he was unbelievable last week against West Virginia.
Yeah, five sacks last year, the first linebacker to lead Oklahoma State in sacks since Lewis Adams back in '96. Extremely talented, 6'1", 235-pounder.
Born in Nigeria, moved to Houston and then Canada, and now in Stillwater for his final season with Oklahoma State. On 4th and 1, Kansas going for it. And we'll see where they spot Williams, and if he got enough to move the chains.
He needed the 35, and I don't think he got there. He did not.
Nope. First down, Oklahoma State.
I get it. I understand the move without question. We saw him do it early in the game as well. Good job by the big guys up front for Oklahoma State.
You know, does this tell you more about Oklahoma State, where it is, or where the Kansas program is? Because it seemed like the Jayhawks were making some strides. A game like this, along with, you know, who they've lost to this year, makes you wonder, though.
It does. You know, and remember, Kansas was already going to play a lot of young guys, and then for this game, you know, having a couple of their secondary defenders out in Kyle Mayberry, Ricky Thomas, so youngsters stepping in there. It's a learning process against an offense in Oklahoma State we talked about wasn't the normal OSU offense we'd seen. They needed a game like this. They're certainly getting it.
Illingworth, boy, shows some good athletic ability that time to slip away from a sack. His pass was off the mark, though, intended for Braden Johnson.
Yeah, you saw him tapping his chest there, saying that was on me. Because again, they're out there running their offense, and
you just have to wonder with a school like Kansas, you know, what's it going to take? They had that stretch under Mark Mangino. It seems like forever ago. It was 2007 where they had only one loss. As Illingworth's pass is caught, and it's going to be a first down for Tylan Wallace. But just look at Kansas since 2009. They've won 7 Big 12 games. 7.
It's been a drought for them, and we'll see how these young players in another year or two develop. I think that's what we're going to have to wait and see for this team, along with, again, their true freshman quarterback, Jalen Daniels. Again, he's just 17 years old. So there's a lot of developing right now, and unfortunately along the way, and for them it's been a while along the way, you take these beatings. And for those that are watching and saying, what is Oklahoma State doing, as we see the head coaches in Kansas and what their records were. I mean, the only winning one there is, as you mentioned, Mangino at 50-48. So it's been a while since we've seen anything out of them, but people may be saying, what's Oklahoma State doing? They're up 38-0. Why are they running their offense? It's just, Kansas even understands this. I mean, you're in there, you play ball. You know, you run your offense. You're not just going to, you know, this isn't, there's no mercy rule here. This isn't, you know, Little League where you just run the ball between the tackles and just do that and run the clock out. You run your offense. And Les Miles knows that. Les Miles has been on both sides of this before. He understands that. And
well, there's 10 minutes to go in the third quarter, so I mean, it's not like there's 10 minutes to go in the fourth quarter.
Exactly. But I'm sure there are a lot of people saying, what is Oklahoma State doing? They're running their offense, which is perfectly acceptable at this point.
Desmond Jackson's in the game, got some carries late last week against West Virginia, and he takes it down to the 9-yard line. Good work for Jackson, who had 3 carries in that game last week when L.D. Brown was banged up and Chuba had fumbled the ball a couple times.
Yeah, Chuba found himself on the sideline for a little bit after that. That's one thing that'll get you off the field quicker than anything is turning the ball over.
Play fake here. Illingworth sacked by Dejon Terry. Now, that's one of the young players for Kansas. They're very high on, a redshirt freshman.
Les Miles talked about him more in the run. He's a big guy at 6'4", 345-pounder coming around the outside. But he's that guy. You don't see many two-gappers anymore. By that I mean you just play straight up over the center and you have both guards. A lot of times you'll hear the 1-gap, 3-gap, 5-gap, 2-gap, 4. You have a gap. Well, when you 2-gap, that means you line up over the center and you have both gaps. Your job is to control that man and not get moved out of there.
It usually means you're larger than than most guys.
That's exactly right.
Desmond Jackson takes it down to the 5. We'll see what they do here. It's 4th down and a couple.
But you said it. It's a redshirt freshman. And how many freshmen have we said true redshirt is to see how these guys develop. And along the way, you go through some tough spurts and some pain and suffering.
Oklahoma State will bring in the field goal team. Again, knowing they're going to win the game. If it's a closer game or it's 38-14, maybe they're going for it. Instead, Alex Hale, 6 for 6. It's perfect. The lead is 41-0, Oklahoma State. But kicking is not maybe Alex's best sport. How about wake skating? Ever done that?
No, thank
it's
you.
It's not skiing and it's not skating or wakeboarding. It's wake skating.
Okay.
The Big Ten, Mountain West, MAC, and Pac-12 have announced their plans to return to play. Now all FBS conferences will play football this fall.
And earlier today on game day, the Pac-12 schedule released. Here are some notable games. Kicking off November 7th, Stanford and Oregon, Washington and Cal. How about that Washington-Oregon game on December 12th? 6 games will be played by the Pac-12 and then an extra game that championship weekend. So you'll have crossover games, not just the top 2 teams will play one another. Everybody will play cross-divisional games as Jamal Horn takes it out to the 30 for Kansas.
So again, I mean, 11 games, 7 games. I mean, the disparity in games for the committee to vote on. And I'll say this again. I said it when the Big Ten was coming back, Dave. Now the Pac-12's coming back. Now we're going to wait and see if the guys that opted out, who's going to opt back in. And I will repeat this. If a player wants to opt back in, I don't care if he signed with an agent, he should be able to opt back in. As I said before, the adults took the game away from these guys, from these players, so they went and did what they felt they needed to do, and now all of a sudden they gave the game back to them. So you need to let them come back, even if they sign with an agent or not. Let them come back, because that's what we're going to start to see now, is the trickling of Pac-12 players like we saw in the Big Ten, of who now will opt back in.
Gain of 3 for Puka Williams. Miles Kendrick in at quarterback for the injured true freshman Jalen Daniels. Kendrick steps up and gets driven to the ground at the 31-yard line by Sione Asi. Daniels on the Kansas sideline in a walking boot, so he is done for the day and maybe longer.
Well, as you mentioned, he's in because McVitie got hurt and maybe back for the next game, but now Daniels is out. It's a tough road when already you're struggling as a team. All Miles Kendrick can do is in there now is try and take advantage of his opportunity, and this makes it very difficult.
Sacked back at the 19-yard line by Trace Ford. I want to go back to what you were talking about with the Pac-12, because I agree with you that if you sign with an agent thinking that your season was over and you're going to the NFL, you should be allowed to play. I just think it's so interesting that there's no room for error in terms of COVID canceled games. So what happens if a team like Oregon loses a game because of COVID but goes undefeated in the games they play, and they play maybe 4 fewer games than a one-loss team from one of the other power conferences? If you're a committee member, how do you properly evaluate and determine who goes and who is left out? We'll talk more about that when we come back. 41-0 Oklahoma State. Tonight on ABC, Oklahoma in action. The Sooners coming off a loss to Kansas State, playing Iowa State. And then on ESPN following us, top 10 matchup, Auburn and Georgia squaring off. Then the defending champs LSU in action on SEC Network. The Tigers losing to Mike Leach in Mississippi State last week. Clemson in action against Virginia. Tigers #1 in the country. A lot of teams that think they can make the college football playoff, including LSU, coming up later tonight on ABC and ESPN as Desmond Jackson takes it to the 35-yard line.
Yep.
Best chance to reach the college football playoff. Clemson and Ohio State remain atop. Alabama close by. And UCF still hanging around, at least according to that. I think it's going to be really interesting as Ethan Bullock is in a quarterback, because you have that language that is kind of ambiguous about best 4 teams, not 4 most deserving teams, the best 4 teams. That's how you evaluate as a college football playoff committee member, and you're determining the best 4 teams based on an unbalanced schedule as Anderson makes the catch.
I mean, this is going to be the problem, and this is, nobody's going to be left out, you know, of being voted by the committee. No matter how many games you have, it's just up to the committee to say, okay, if you've played 7, then you win your conference and you have 8 games. How does that match up against a team that played 11, 10 or 11? So you may have a great record at 7 or 8 games, but they may say, sorry, for us this year, that's not enough. That's why I said it's going to be more subjective than ever. They're not going to be able to put limitations on it. Plus, who does it? Who's the arbiter of that? You know, is it the committee? Is it Bill Hancock? Is it the NCAA, which they don't really dip their toe in making decisions like that? Is it the conferences? You know, is it the presidents? So I think it's just going to be, all right, everybody's open for the vote. 13 of us are in the room. We watch the tape. We eat our food. We see how many games they played. And we vote on, there's going to be a lot of eye test. Okay, you only played 7 games, but I think you're better than this 10-game team that played 10 games. And how are you going to argue with that this year? I mean, we're going to argue. We know we're going to argue. It's going to happen.
Right. So really, it's the same as every year. I mean, yes. It is the eye test in a lot of ways. You just, you always have to be sharper on some teams that have played fewer games.
There's just another variable now, right? It seems like the goalposts move each week sometimes when they vote on what they're looking for. And now we've just added something else to the mix, a disparity in the number of games you're playing.
There's Dominic Richardson, true freshman, getting the carry here, and he's brought down at the 10, a loss of 1.
So we're already seeing what I talked about at halftime. We saw 2 drives, and now we see the backups in. The backup offensive line is in, and this is great. This is great time for these guys who bust their butts in practice as well, and you know, and to get some time. And so
saw the numbers there for Chuba.
Yeah, I mean, Chuba looked like the Chuba Hubbard we were used to from last year. You know, some will say maybe, well, it's against a Kansas defense, which isn't very good, but no doubt Oklahoma State will get tested the rest of the year. Again, as we talked about, they have a bye next week before they go to Baylor, which I would imagine will be more of a test here as we see player down, Nick Channel, a guy who's gotten an opportunity today because Drew Prox has been out. We've seen him certainly with his face in a lot of plays.
Tell you, watching Chuba Hubbard today, he came here with a point to make, I think, to himself and to his team and to his head coach, Mike Gundy, who's been really critical of his turning the ball, putting the ball on the carpet this year. But, man, he's been laser focused today, super positive with his offensive line and really productive on the field. And while the holes this year may not be as big as they were a year ago, I thought his ability with the spin move and to break tackles today was as good as we've seen. We know he's got that breakaway speed where he can take a little crease to the house. He's had fewer long runs this season, but I loved what I saw from him with his attitude, his emotion, and his focus today.
Well, I'm going to tell you, O-linemen love playing with a running back like this, because the linemen just stay on their man. If you're a defensive player and you trade 1-for-1, if I'm a D tackle and I just stay on the guard and the running back goes by me, I've lost. I just traded 1-for-1. So this guy will let the linemen get into their blocks, stay on their blocks, and then he just makes his move. He's a patient runner, sticks his foot in the ground and goes. Spins every now and then, and it's very effective.
Bullock throwing a fade through the hands of the intended receiver, Tay Martin, a transfer from Washington State. It is 4th down and goal.
And I think we can say, too, Dave, that listen, let's be honest. The competition wasn't very good today. He's going to get more. As going into this game, as I said, last year he averaged 6 yards a carry. The first 2 games this year, like 3.5. So the offense had not really been clicking. It did today, but you're going to say, okay, well, maybe the competition wasn't very good. They're definitely going to get tested, no doubt about it, the rest of this season. But Chuba certainly like the Chuba Hubbard we've seen from last year.
Over 7 yards a carry today. So another short field goal attempt for Alex Hale.
Now
and a penalty marker is thrown.
It'll be just a little longer now.
Offense, 5-yard penalty, remains 4th down.
So this is what happens when you put in backups. It's the backup special team as well, and some forget they're supposed to be on the field, so they're running on late. It gets to be a little bit of a cluster on the sideline, which at least in a blowout gives the coaches the ability to yell at somebody the next day, because they really can never go through a meeting without that. It's in their DNA.
But to your point on the bye, I mean, your offense finally got on track today. You've got a couple of offensive linemen who have not played the last 2 weeks, as the field goal is good. You might get them back. You might get your quarterback Spencer Sanders back for the gauntlet of at Baylor, Iowa State, Texas, at Kansas State, and then you get that bye before Bedlam in Norman, November 21st. Speaking of the Big 12 on ESPN+, Big 12 now is a must for league fans. Every Thursday, go all access with our time Oklahoma State football. Last year was Kansas that was featured. This year it's Oklahoma State. Plus, after our game, you'll get live Jayhawks post-game coverage. Hear what Les Miles has to say. With over 500 live events, you got to have it. Sign up today, ESPNplus.com/Big12 now.
It's a good one to be highlighting Oklahoma State this year against. They're the only undefeated team left. That still is amazing to me. Amazing that we're week 5 officially. It's called week 5. That the undefeateds, there's 1 left. We lost 2 more today. Baylor and Texas both losing.
Going to be a touchback. Come out to the 25 as we look at today's chill performance, brought to you by Coors Light, the Oklahoma State defense, Mike.
Well, and I tell you, when you say Big 12, a lot of times the national reputation is not good, but this defense this year is very, very aggressive. And they have proved it in the first 3 games. They've given up only 59 total yards today. Again, some will say the competition wasn't very good, but they did it in the first 2 games as well. Giving up just 10 points a game. They're in the top 10 nationally with that and how well they played. They're number 6 overall, just giving up 10 points. They're playing well against the run. And they have that rotation on that defensive line. They have players that they can run in. Same 5 offensive linemen against their opponents usually are playing a game. When you can roll, 6, 7 guys in to stay fresh, boy, what a difference that can make, especially as the season wears on.
About 3 minutes to go here in the 3rd, and that defense pitching is shut out again today. So that is 20 points allowed this season through 3 games by Oklahoma State's defense. Jim Knowles is the defensive coordinator in his 3rd year. And this is a group that has a lot of experience. 10 starters back from a year ago. They had 5 sacks last week and a defensive touchdown. A few more sacks today of Kansas quarterbacks as Kendrick throws to Kwame Lassiter the second. And Lassiter picks up a first down, put the ball on the ground, but he was down. Now, Lassiter's a talented guy. His father, who passed away about a year and a half ago, played in the NFL for a decade. He too played at Kansas, was undrafted coming out, ended up being an outstanding defensive back who had 1 year where he had 8 picks, another year where he had 9 in the NFL. They got a Velton Gardner here on the ground, and nice carry out to the 44.
And Kwame Lassiter here now, the second. Kwame Lassiter, the second, came into Kansas weighing, I think, all of a $147. And now, you know, he's a massive 175. So he's putting on weight. You know, certainly bigger than he was when he got here. But, you know, he's a guy who wants to give himself the best chance he can at the next level. Said the best thing his dad taught him, his dad, as you just mentioned, a great defensive back, taught him how to read defenses, taught him how to look at coverages. He said that has helped the game slow down for him.
Gardner brought down at the 50-yard line as we're at the 2-minute mark here in the third. You know, Kansas trying to get some points here, have something good to talk about post-game.
Yeah, this is what each individual player, you know, doing their thing, you know, trying to execute. Because you'll watch this with a critical eye the next day, point out the good and the bad. There'll be some good, not a lot of good, but there'll be some that you can build off of.
Gardner wrapped up and slammed to the ground behind the line of scrimmage by Sean Michael Flanagan. A loss on the play of about 2.
And you know, you'll look at the tape and you'll say, okay, was it a mental issue or was it a physical one? You can correct them both, especially the physical one. You step with the wrong foot, using the wrong hand, taking the wrong angle. Those are all correctable things. You'd rather have to correct those things than a guy who keeps making mental mistakes.
Kendrick has his man, caught by true freshman Lawrence Arnold in Oklahoma State territory.
You know, going back to Jim Knowles, the defensive coordinator, 30 years of coaching experience. Last 8 years before here was at Duke. His last season at Duke in 17, they were top 25 in the nation in a bunch of categories on defense. Helped Duke go to 5 bowls in 6 years. Really helped turn that defense around there, and certainly doing a great job here.
Kendrick flushed out of the pocket, in trouble. And down he goes, another sack for that Cowboy defense. This one by Devin Harper, who had an interception earlier in the game. Kansas did cross midfield for just the second time all day, but now back on their side of the field.
And listen, as a defender, you obviously love the situation. You're up so much, but now you're just teeing off. I mean, you're just out there having a ball. As I said, if you played long enough, you've been on either side of these.
So that's the end of the third quarter. Oklahoma State up 44-0. We talked about Chuba Hubbard, but how about Tylan Wallace? Good to have him healthy. 9 catches, 148 yards, and 2 touchdowns for the Cowboys today. So they added a second onto the third quarter clock. Kansas decided to punt. They had their quarterback out there for 4th and 10, but they punt. Fair catch made at the 18-yard line. And now we go to the fourth quarter. 44-0 Oklahoma State. Welcome back to the Big 12 Conference on ESPN. From Lawrence, Kansas, the Jayhawks taking on number 17 Oklahoma State. The Cowboys have put up over 500 yards of total offense in their first road game of the year. And that defense, which has been outstanding through the first 2 games, has held Kansas today to 80 yards of total offense. Low snap, and diving on it is Ethan Bullock.
This is what you get with a new offensive line, new center here. Again, they work on it obviously in practice, but be a little rougher around the edges, but it's still great. These guys are getting their reps in there on both sides of the ball.
Bullock is a junior from Orlando, Florida. Started his career at South Dakota State. He'd thrown 13 passes in the first 2 games, so he did see some action in close games. But the Shane Illingworth winning the starting job until Spencer Sanders is 100%.
1 yard gain on the play. 3rd down and 14 at the 15.
But again, really the story today, the offense has been great, but the fact that Oklahoma State forced 9 punts as that ball is dropped and only surrendered 6 first downs by Kansas. It will be interesting when the competition gets better, starting with Baylor in a couple weeks.
Yeah, a lot of people are going to wonder, are they the real deal? I mean, they've been playing like the real deal without question. And they're a stoked up group. So we see the punt team for Oklahoma State and our 30-year-old punter.
Unfortunately, we haven't had a chance to talk about it. We haven't been out there at all. This is a guy that worked at a paper mill for 5 years in Australia. Worked 12-hour shifts. Played amateur Australian rules football on the weekends while he was working at the paper mill. But he's got 3 years of eligibility at Oklahoma State, and he's 30 right now.
That's awesome. It's just awesome.
Matt Berry with your Capital One fan vote update, checking in on Alabama, Texas A&M. Jalen Waddle, 5 catches, 142 yards, and this touchdown. It is all tied at this point, 42-17, headed to the 4th quarter. Guys?
And so like last year, Alabama's offense outstanding. The question is, will they be better on defense this year? Because that is what kept them from getting into the college football playoff last year.
Did help them get, again, Dylan Moses back, who blew his knee out before the season started, and he came back again.
Loss there for Gardner. Don't forget, following our game, great one with Georgia and Auburn squaring off between the hedges. 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific, ESPN app. And Bo Nix do it on the road for Auburn, and who will be a quarterback to start and finish for Georgia?
2nd and 11 at the 47.
I think Georgia and Georgia fans are hoping as JT Daniels is cleared to play in this game, coming over from USC after starting his true freshman season there, hurting his knee the next year.
Kendrick completes it over the middle. Kwame Lassiter inside the 25 and down to the 20-yard line.
For them, good hook up there. Just middle route. Kendrick with a nice throw. Oh, that's a nice job of looking and seeing where the zone was and going to the open spot. That was very aware by Kwame Lassiter of what he just did. And that may be, again, going to when we talked about him and his father. That's what he said on the field. His father taught him the most was reading defenses to help the game slow down. He did a great job of understanding that zone coverage, where to go and where to find the hole. And he found it. That was really impressive.
And then Velton Gardner had a really nice run. Should have lost 4, instead he gained 4. Here's 2nd and 6. Gardner inside the 15, inside the 5, and down just short of the goal line. Oklahoma State has not pitched a shutout on the road against a conference foe since 1995 against Oklahoma. And the shutout right now is at stake.
So we talked a lot about the backups coming in on offense. Well, the backups are in on defense as well for Oklahoma State. Certainly they want that shutout, but this is a different group in there.
Gardner, 2nd effort, dives, and it's a touchdown for Kansas.
So backups on backups. Great 2nd effort to get it in the end zone. And you know what? These guys may be backups, but they're out there playing 100%. And that's what I love to see. Guys are practicing. They're getting a chance to play ball. They're getting their chance out there. You try and make the most of it.
5-play, 52-yard drive that took less than 2 minutes before Velton Gardner, a sophomore from Dallas, Texas, was able to punch it in for his 2nd rushing touchdown of the season. Jacob Borchilla with the extra point. Oklahoma State still blowing out Kansas, but at least the Jayhawks get on the board.
ESPN College Football is brought to you by Burger King, the one and only BK Flame Grilled Whopper.
Well, last week, Gale Sayers passed away at the age of 77. He was honored by Kansas with a statue, and it was just unveiled moments ago at halftime. Gale, two-time All-American at Kansas, in the College Football Hall of Fame and in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Played just 7 years in the NFL, got in at age 34, the youngest ever. John Hadel, who was an excellent player both at Kansas and then played 16 years in the NFL. His statue unveiled as well at halftime, Mike.
That's awesome. 2 statues. Man, I want a statue, Dave.
Presley is deep for Oklahoma State, and it'll be a touchback. Quite a lot more competition in Notre Dame to get a statue than at Kansas.
Have to be food related. I'm almost finished my little donuts up here. Have to be something like that. So there's John Hadel. I mean, and what he did, and listen, Gale Sayers, obviously the great player, but the story of him and Brian Piccolo, and for young people out there, if you don't know a lot about it, this is a great thing to use Google for. I mean, Brian Piccolo, they were the first interracial roommates in the NFL, and great friends. And Brian Piccolo, died of cancer. And I mean, the movie Brian song, where Billy D. Williams played Gale Sayers and James Caan played Brian Piccolo. If you didn't cry watching that, you have no soul. I watched it 100 times and I cry every single time. What a story.
Desmond Jackson getting the carry. Now, my dad made me watch that movie when I was very young, for good reason. It was an incredible movie. True story about 2 great friends, Gale Sayers and Brian Piccolo. And there's the scene that brings tears to every eye watching it from Brian's song. Here was Billy D's tweet when he found out about his friend, talked about Gale Sayers being his friend, and the great honor of portraying him in the movie Brian song. First down and more for Desmond Jackson. Finally pushed out around the 35 of Kansas.
I mean, just watching that, I started feeling it again. How about this, though? That 1965 draft, number 3 pick for the Bears, Dick Butkus. Number 4 pick, Gale Sayers. And by the way, they had the 6th pick in the draft. They picked Steve DeLong, who was the Outland Trophy winner from Tennessee. But he also got picked in the 6th round by the AFL, the San Diego Chargers, and he chose to play in the AFL. But Dick Butkus and Gale Sayers together, not too bad after Gale finished his career at Kansas.
Mike, a lot of people, as you watch Gale Sayers wearing number 48 when he was in Kansas, number 40 with the Bears, but a lot of people, say Jim Brown is not only the best running back, maybe the best football player of all time, but, he got in at age 35. Gale Sayers got into the Pro Football Hall of Fame a year younger, as that pass is incomplete. Gale got in at age 34, having played just 7 years in the NFL, but 2-time NFL rushing champ.
I mean, just incredible, the runner he was. And think about it for the Bears, having Gale Sayers, having Walter Payton. I mean, holy smokes, that's not too shabby.
Oklahoma State, Thurman Thomas and Barry Sanders. Speaking of statues and numbers being retired, Thurman Thomas had his number retired last week. It's the first one ever at Oklahoma State. Another long throw, and it's almost intercepted, but Kenny Logan couldn't come up with it.
Listen, and Thurman Thomas absolutely deserves to have his jersey retired, but I would guess you ask anybody who's the first person to get their jersey retired, if you see the nice dive and effort on the interception, then it looked like he landed on the ball. I think a lot of us would be saying Barry Sanders. And I'm sure Barry will eventually have it retired, but that was a little surprising. But no disrespect to Thurman Thomas, who absolutely deserves that.
Of course.
Well, what I'm told unofficially is that Barry Sanders in 2021 will be inducted. You think about the numbers he wore, 21 for Oklahoma State, 20 for the Detroit Lions. There's some symmetry there, and you can expect to see that next year.
Well, Quint, the head coach for Oklahoma State, Mike Gundy, he was a quarterback, got to play with both guys.
How about that? Wow.
Timeout in Lawrence. Oklahoma State on its way to 3-0. Well, on August 28th, nearly 1,000 Kansas athletes, students, and faculty participated in a 2-mile march through campus to protest racial injustice. Well, like many schools, doing it basically as a community to fight injustice locally and nationally. Miles Kendrick still in at quarterback. Hands it off here to Daniel Highshaw. Has got some talent. Had some carries against Baylor. Picks up a first down here. Pre-game, see the T-shirt, so Black Lives Matter and It Takes All of Us, worn by some of the Kansas football players.
You know, and it's a great opportunity to do this all together. You know, everybody together, whether it be the football team, the campus, the community. And then what I look forward to is these young men and young women at the schools as well, is when they're out of that situation. So you see a nice run there by Highshaw. When they're out of that situation, especially like the football players, when most don't make it to the NFL, now you're out into the real world. What you take as the learning experience from this, one of the things you are learning in college or having to deal with in college that can translate to the real world, how that goes for them when they go into the world, kind of all go their separate ways, and how they take what they've learned and went through with this situation and how they can improve upon that positively going forward.
And Oklahoma State has had some players that have been very vocal as well, and certainly at the top of the list is Chuba Hubbard, the outstanding running back for the Cowboys, as Highshaw has the first down for Kansas. Now that goes back, Chuba goes back to the head coach Mike Gundy wearing a T-shirt of a particular news network that he said was insensitive to Chuba and some of the other players. And and just reading a lot of the stories, you got to the bottom that the T-shirt was part of it, but a lot of it was the players felt a disconnect with Mike Gundy. Gundy apologized for that, apologized for the T-shirt, ended up taking a pay cut and shortening his contract. You wonder, though, as he talked with us last week, feels like there's been some progress there in terms of the relationship of the players, and maybe ultimately in terms of the team on the field this year, them being closer will result in greater success.
Yeah, I mean, this is where there's so much more communication nowadays, and even needs to be more. Something that didn't happen a lot. Certainly I'm older than you guys when I was younger, and even Mike Gundy talked about it when you're growing up. It was you listen to your teachers, your parents, and your coaches, and what they said you did, which is fine. I completely understand that, but there is more today of communication, of questions, instead of just automatically doing something, finding out the reasons for it. And I think there's a fine line of it, of not all one way and not all the other way. There is a middle ground to that.
Kendrick on third down has a completion and a first down for Lawrence Arnold.
So listen, we're seeing Highshaw, we're seeing Arnold. Again, these are true freshmen, gang. These are guys getting good, and they had been getting reps under their belt, but now they're getting more reps, and this is only going to help the future of this Kansas football team.
Gardner gets to the perimeter and steps out after a pickup of about 4. Kansas's next game is against West Virginia, October 17th. The Jayhawks will be 0-3 after this one. Losses to Coastal Carolina, Baylor, and now Oklahoma State. Chance to get healthy at quarterback during the bye next week for both McVitie and Jalen Daniels. Check in with Matt Berry in the studio.
All right, gentlemen, fun game going on. Once down 24-3 to SMU. Brady White to Taj Washington ties it at 27-all. This game over on ESPN2.
Great game, and again, a lot of really good group of 5 teams. Best might be BYU, but UCF certainly showed us last week that they have a great opportunity to go unbeaten this year, and maybe this will be the year to at least have a shot to get into the college football playoff. albeit a long shot.
Yeah.
Maybe get some legit conversation, though, by the committee members if one of those teams are unbeaten late in the year and everybody else has a loss, if there are no unbeatens in the Power 5.
Well, as we see Gardner limping off, we've seen that a lot today in Kansas. We touched on this last week. In a normal scenario, it almost seems, I'll never say impossible, but close to it for the group of 5 to get in, even with an undefeated. We talked about UCF doing it a couple of times and being 12th and 8th. So maybe this year could be different. Maybe with the schedules the way they are, maybe this could be the year for one of them to get in. And let's see what they can do. I still say make this a year where you expand the playoffs a bit and give some more teams a chance, because it's such a different year.
Kendrick's pass incomplete. Looked like the receiver Arnold was going to be short of the line to gain anyway, so Oklahoma State will take over on downs.
Oklahoma State
trying to stay in bounds. Boy, had his right foot was on the ground, his left foot was in the air. It's a heck of an effort.
I think he probably would have been short anyway, so it is Oklahoma State ball regardless. Back to Lawrence in a moment. When they face Atlanta on Monday night, boy, Rogers looking like an MVP candidate early on. Meanwhile, Oklahoma State 6 minutes away from improving to 3-0. The only undefeated team left out of the Big 12. Dominic Richardson on the carry. It's about 6.
Going back to the NFL, bigger stories than the games, with Tennessee having the positive COVID test to their game, with Pittsburgh being moved now to, I believe, week 7. And now the news, Cam Newton tested positive for New England. Supposedly a Kansas City Chief tested positive as well. They were supposed to play on Sunday. That game already postponed. What they're going to say, Monday or Tuesday, or will it get pushed to a way they can figure out the schedule? It's only been a couple of games, so they've been able to figure some things out. So it's a couple of leaks in the dam right now, but if too many start to show up, you're not going to be able to figure out the schedule situation as much.
Good run after the catch by Rashad Owens for Oklahoma State.
Again, young guys getting opportunity, or even if they're older guys that are getting a chance, make the most of their situations.
What's really going to be interesting in terms of pro football with, and I guess you could say the same for these college teams, though, you wonder when we get to the college football playoff if there's a way to create a true bubble. But, you know, what if you lose your quarterback in a playoff game, or you get to the Super Bowl and you lose your quarterback, or you get to the college football playoff national championship and you lose your quarterback to COVID?
Think about, let's go back to the NFL. If we have a player down for Oklahoma State. Last week there was a player from Atlanta, Dave, that tested positive, but he wasn't a guy, you know, he wasn't the quarterback or a name. And the game, you know, he was quarantined and the game went on with the Bears. Now you have, it's your quarterback, Cam Newton. You know, so that takes on a different, you know, tenet of what's going to happen in the game when you lose your quarterback, or if you lose, you know, your left tackle or one of those positions. So is this going to keep? At Tennessee, we saw there were more positive tests. So you hope it's like baseball, where you had a few in the beginning like this, had some movement of games, and then it kind of ran smoothly. You really don't need a big breakout here, obviously, in the NFL.
For college football, guys, I'm looking at a more week-to-week basis. I mean, I really worry about Halloween weekend, because I went to college once, and I know how wild Halloween weekend can be. And what's it going to look like the next week when teams come back for testing? I also worry about teams, not the Alabamas and Clemsons of the world, but the team who may be 2-6, the team who's 1-7, and they're sick of their coach saying, guys, you can't go out, you can't go out, you can't see your girlfriend, you can't go party. And a 1-7 team is more likely to break discipline, and that could impact some teams who are leading their league. So I'm looking at this from a week-to-week basis still.
Boy, it's a great point. I mean, even Mike Gundy told us every single day, you got to remind the players. You have to remind them, wear a mask, social distance. All the coaches are doing this. They're college kids, man. They're used to being able to go out and mingle. And they can't, and they have to hold themselves accountable. They have to be reminded. And you're right, through no fault of your own, you could all of a sudden have to miss a game because the opponent you're going to play, they weren't taking care of business, or, it just, somebody got it and it spread. And all of a sudden you're missing games. As we talked about, when the Big Ten and the Pac-12 start, there is no cushion there. So if that happens once, they're going to have even less games.
Bullock hands it off here to Richardson, and he's going to get maybe 2. I think Quinn's point, too, is interesting from this standpoint. I mean, a lot of times teams are bad, not necessarily because of lack of talent, because of poor leadership. So let's say you're a bad team because of poor leadership. Well, that poor leadership often extends to off the field. That's when you need to have, this year more than anything, have strong player leadership. Right. Not just the coaches telling you, but the veteran players holding the young guys accountable. You're going to have that, obviously, with teams that are in the college football playoff hunt. Right. What happens with the bad teams?
Completely agree. And as to Quinn's point, with the bad team, that can affect the good team if they're playing that week. If they were to pass it along, and then you have a breakout. And, nice lowering
Richardson,
of the
big
head
hit.
There. Wow. Smokes. And then, going back to the NFL, there's a talk of, will teams maybe start to bubble in a hotel, kind of like what Sean Payton did with the Saints in training camp. They had those who wanted to. He made it voluntary, all stay in a hotel, and most of the players did. So could you do that in the NFL and just have them live in a hotel? They'd be away from their families to try and stop any spread.
Pass is broken up in the end zone, but a flag looked like there was some interference.
Yeah, they're definitely one. They had to throw that. I'm sure the refs don't want to throw flags anymore, but Deuce Mayberry, again, the true freshman, we brought his name up a little earlier when he got beat on a long ball. You'll see he just grabs and hangs on. That you have to call.
Pass interference.
Not looking at the ball.
Defense, number 22. The foul occurred in the end zone. By rule, the ball will be placed at the 2-yard line. Automatic first down.
We talked about Oklahoma State a lot for good reason today, guys. But what about Kansas? Where do the Jayhawks go from here? You're 0-3, and you got the whole season ahead of you. It's already been a frustrating year with the interruptions. Not allowed to have a lot of friends and family members at games. Well, good play defensively again by Davon Ferguson. But if you're Les Miles, how do you handle things this bye week?
So this is what's tough, Dave. Not only this week, but the rest of the year, is you have a lot of young players. So the thought's going to be, you're playing for the future with these young players. But you also have seniors and fifth-year guys on the team as well. And this is the last time a lot of them will ever play football. We're at the end of the season, for a lot of these seniors and fifth-year guys, they will never put on the shoulder pads and helmet again. So they'd like to go out, as we see this legs taken out and over the top.
He wasn't in. Richardson not in. So a 3rd and goal. They'll give it to Richardson again.
Good stop.
Push back. Yeah.
But that's the battle you have, is there are a lot of freshmen, redshirt freshmen, true sophomores that are playing that need time to develop, and it is going to take some time. But that's just like in the NFL, when you draft a quarterback and you play him right away, you're probably not going to do anything, and you got older guys on the team, or guys in the last year of their deals on the team, and you're saying, oh my God, well, we're not going to do anything. So the older guys on Kansas know it's going to be kind of a getting the young players ready for the future, but unfortunately, you don't have any more of a future after this year. You're going to be done. So it's tough. That's tough for the head coach to kind of have to massage that situation.
Brady Pohl, the backup kicker, redshirt freshman from Kansas City, going to get an opportunity here to make a field goal.
Delay a game. Again, player running on late.
Makes it easier, I think, for him, too, with that angle.
Delay game. Offense. 5-yard penalty. Remains 4th down. With the game clock operator, please reset the clock to 1:02. Please, 1:02 on the clock.
I would agree, and if I were that guy who ran in late, that's what I would say in film tomorrow. Coach, I thought you needed a better angle. I wonder if that would work.
Did it work for you?
Nope. Nope.
24-yard try now for Pohl. And he nails it. So it's a 40-point lead, 47-7 inside a minute to go. Well, coming up next here on ESPN, 7:30 Eastern, 2 top 10 teams squaring off between the hedges, Georgia and Auburn. Followed by our UFC Fight Night main card from Fight Island. Tomorrow you get Game 3 of the NBA Finals as the Lakers look to go up 3-0 over the Heat. That's on ABC. And then our Monday Night Football matchup, the 3-0 Packers led by Aaron Rodgers hosting Atlanta at Lambeau Field. It's all now playing on ESPN and the ESPN app.
Well, how about that duo, Anthony Davis and LeBron? 59 points together combined in game 1, 65 in game 2, and now in game 2, Goran Dragic was out, Sam Adebayo was out. He has the neck and the shoulder. Dragic has the torn plantar. I mean, they're in so much trouble with that. It's just Jimmy Butler. As LeBron, I mean, here you go, 10th one, looking for his 4th championship, probably going to get it. You know, you think of his, you know, Robin to his Batman, from Kyrie Irving in Cleveland to Dwayne Wade in Miami to Anthony Davis. You have to think, boy, Anthony Davis could turn out to be the best of them all as far as that 1-2 punch guy, that second guy.
I had a vote for MVP, and I voted for Giannis because it's a regular season vote.
Yeah.
But LeBron James right now is the most valuable player in the NBA.
Don't you think that LeBron gets kind of that Michael Jordan treatment as well? That Jordan could have been MVP more,
Sure.
but you get it so many times, you get Jordan fatigue. Maybe there's LeBron fatigue as well.
And I'm curious, from somebody who did what you did for so long, having an opinion basically on anything, if LeBron James wins, is he or Michael Jordan the best player of all time?
I still say Michael Jordan probably is the best player of all time. I think Jordan's the best athlete. I mean, ridiculous. You know, that's so tough. It's so. Let's be honest. LeBron can do more, can't he? I mean, LeBron is at heart really could be the point guard like he is now with the Lakers, and what he's doing dishing the ball. You know, he'll dish it more than score. He's an incredible athlete with his size, what he can do with the ball. Can he do more than Jordan did? I mean, some would say yes. Some would say with the attitude that throw that in there, that Jordan that's what sets him over the top as the greatest of all time, just that attitude and determination.
Kendrick in trouble and sacked. 4 sacks today by Oklahoma State's defense after 5 last week against West Virginia.
Who do you think,
That
Dave?
was Irby.
Who do you go with that?
Boy, it's so. I mean, Michael Jordan didn't lose in the finals, and that's,
Yeah.
I think, you know, if there was one in there where he had lost, I think that maybe he then would say LeBron. I think the fact that LeBron James took a Cleveland team to the finals in 07 when he was in his 4th year, didn't win, but then obviously went to Miami and won, went back to Cleveland and won, now winning with the Lakers.
It is a difference. It is a difference of the kind of some of the teams that he took to the finals, you know, that made it difficult, as this game is coming to an end.
I shot to the 35. I still lean towards Jordan, but I think it's more of a conversation now because of LeBron. Meanwhile, Oklahoma State with a 40-point win, and quarterback Spencer Sanders didn't even have to play today. Tylan Wallace had a couple of touchdown catches. Chuba Hubbard had a couple of touchdowns on the ground. Up next, Auburn and Georgia. Between the hedges. Again, our final score from Lawrence, 47-7. Oklahoma State wins. Mike Golick, Quinn Kesnick, I'm Dave Pasch. So long from Lawrence.